My daughter banned me from her wedding, so I quietly canceled everything instead. My heart still aches thinking about it. My own daughter banned me from her wedding, a wedding I was paying for. The betrayal felt like a punch to the gut, so I did the unthinkable. I secretly canceled the entire event. It's true what they say, no one can wound you deeper than your own child. For me, that child is Ava, my 27-year-old daughter. She explicitly forbade me from attending her wedding, which was supposed to be yesterday. For the past week, I'd been drowning in a mix of sadness and disbelief. This wasn't just any wedding. It was a gift from me, a lavish celebration that I was fully financing. Ava had always been a challenging kid. When she first told me about her wedding plans, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she was finally finding stable ground with someone she loved. I had endured so many nightmares raising her, so this felt like a chance for a fresh start. Her fiancé and she were struggling financially, so I stepped in, eager to help them plan the beautiful wedding they dreamed of. And what did I get in return? A cold, brutal ban from the very event I was making possible. The devastation was beyond words. A few days before the wedding, still reeling, I decided to try a small act of defiance. I called the wedding planner, asking to add my brother to the guest list. He told me the list was full, that Ava had instructed him to keep it strictly private. My suspicions immediately flared. I informed him that as her father and the one footing the bill, he'd better follow my instructions. After some reluctance and a thinly veiled threat from me to call his boss, he finally sent over the full guest list. My heart sank as I scrolled through it. My name wasn't there, nor was my wife's. It was an omission so stark, so deliberate, it took my breath away. I called the coordinator back, my voice shaking. There had to be a mistake, I insisted. He then clarified, his voice hesitant, that he'd been expressly instructed not to mention our names. He even shared an email exchange between him and Ava. They were told, in no uncertain terms, to prevent us from entering the venue. It wasn't just an oversight, it was a blockade. How utterly devastating. I knew Ava held animosity towards me, but I never imagined it would reach such a cruel extreme. That day, she was at her bachelorette party, so my frantic calls went straight to voicemail. She didn't call back that day or the next, despite my urgent message. The wedding was just days away, so on the third day, I drove to her apartment, where she lived with her fiancé. She told me she was too busy getting ready to meet. She was avoiding me, I realized, because the wedding planner had already tipped her off about my discovery of the guest list. I went there seeking answers, but her dismissive demeanor only fueled my growing rage. "I know you banned me from the wedding," I stated, my voice tight. Her response? A cold, almost mocking, "Well, good for you. Traveling to the location saved you time and effort. If I have time, I'll forward the wedding photos." I went utterly insane. There was no explanation, no regret, no apology. Just pure, unadulterated cruelty. Tears welled in my eyes, blurring my vision as I choked out, "What did I do to deserve this?" She listed her grievances. "You always mistreated me. First, by slapping a stepmother in her face, then by siding with other people even when I was at fault. You wanted me to stand up for her without reservation when she harassed my sister's daughter. How could I stand up for her when she was discovered using pills in class?" The accusation stung, twisting the knife further. I had defended her, prevented her expulsion from school. I helped her get into college, despite her terrible grades and attitude. But she remained unappreciative, always finding fault. When she saw me crying, she accused me of generating negativity in her home. I reminded her, through my tears, that I was paying for her wedding. Her response was hostile. "You owe me this. You're not doing me any favors." That was it. I lost it. "I owe you nothing," I roared. "This wedding was a favor, and I have done more than enough." She just brushed me off, saying she didn't have time for my emotional drama, and told me to leave. When I got home, I collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably in front of my wife, Mercy. Mercy, Ava's stepmother, is usually the most good-hearted and forgiving person you'd ever meet. But seeing me so utterly broken, something snapped in her. For the first time, she was enraged. "We must stop Ava from feeling entitled to harm us," she insisted. Until just a year ago, Ava had been living off my money, surviving solely on my support, only recently finding a respectable job. She had no savings for a wedding because of this. I had finally reached my breaking point. By the way, if you're still with me, still grappling with this unbelievable story, make sure to hit subscribe. More raw, honest accounts like this are coming your way. Mercy's words, combined with Ava's callousness, solidified my decision. I decided to discipline her in the most absolute way possible. I called off all the wedding plans. I didn't care that I hardly received any money back from the advance payments. My goal was simple: to spoil her special day, just as she had spoiled my hope for a relationship with my daughter. I let her keep her dress, of course, since she already had it. A part of me felt terrible, a deep parental guilt, but after truly reflecting, I knew I had done more than enough for her my entire life. Why should I feel bad about interrupting her wedding when she felt no remorse about interrupting my life and my presence at it? On the wedding day itself, it was chaos. The wedding coordinator, the caterers, the decorators, they all showed up at the location, only to be turned away. Security showed them the cancellation email I had sent. The wedding planner called me, asking for the last payment. I calmly informed them that I was no longer concerned and that they could speak with Ava about it. They told me that Ava, when denied access to the venue by the guards, had gotten into a fight with them. Her fiancé had to intervene, pulling her away just in time, nearly getting her arrested for trespassing. When she tried to contact me, I had already blocked her number. When she showed up at my property, I denied her entry at the main gate. I desired tranquility, not another shouting match. Talking was pointless. Her comments would only inflict more pain. She needed to take responsibility for her conduct. This cycle of forgiveness had to end. Ava, it seemed, only wanted her friends at her wedding, not her family. I honored that decision. Fortunately, she had to deal with her friends about the cancellation, so I didn't have to explain anything to them. My parents were the only ones who weren't thrilled with what I accomplished. They argued that regardless of how terrible our kids are to us, we should never treat them cruelly. I explained to them that Ava was the cause of this, that all her life she had been cruel and egotistical. No matter how hard I tried to defend my actions, the guilt still lingered. I pretended to be brave, but secretly deep down, I regretted calling off my own daughter's wedding. Writing this down, though, felt like a small release, a weight lifted from my heart. Thank you all for the outpouring of moral support. I truly didn't expect my actions to be praised by so many. I was afraid I'd be seen as a fool for taking such a harsh stance against my own daughter. A few of you asked about Ava's history of animosity towards us, and I apologize for missing that detail previously. Here's the full, painful story. My second wife is Mercy, who is 45. Ava is my daughter from my first marriage. I divorced Ava's mother when Ava was 7 years old. My first wife left me for someone else, and shockingly, when they moved to Europe, they didn't want Ava. So, I was granted custody. When Ava was 13, I remarried Mercy, and ever since, we've both had to contend with Ava's simmering anger. When she was a teenager, it made a painful kind of sense. It must have been incredibly difficult for her to see someone take her mother's place. Mercy, being a certified children's counselor and teacher, always reassured me that Ava would eventually be all right, that as an adult, she would see me as more than just her father, but as a person deserving of companionship. I married Mercy 5 years after my divorce, truly hoping Ava would appreciate that I had raised her alone all those years, especially since both her mother and her new husband had so clearly rejected her. Regrettably, Ava showed absolutely no gratitude. Instead, her hostility towards Mercy and me intensified. Things got so bad that I had to send her to live with my sister, who had a daughter Ava's age, hoping she'd find a friend there. After a few months of relative peace, my sister gave up. Less than a year later, with their last year of school approaching, my sister didn't want her daughter's grades to suffer from the constant petty arguments between them. She told me I had to take Ava back. So, Ava lived with us until she graduated high school, though she'd spend her breaks with my parents. Eventually, she declared she would finish high school residing with them and flat out refused to return home. I made arrangements for carpooling, as my parents' residence was far from her school. That arrangement lasted as long as she was content and peaceful, but her high school grades, when released, were terrible. That's when I discovered she had fallen in with the wrong crowd, students involved in drugs. She wanted to live with my parents because she had a nasty boyfriend and would sneak out after they went to bed, touring the city until after midnight. She even had to repeat her senior year of high school. Getting her through college was another nightmare. She wouldn't have been accepted anywhere else due to her abysmal grades and depressing attitude. So thank God I had some contacts who helped her secure a spot at a respectable college. There, she once again surrounded herself with the wrong crowd, and her drug use escalated so much that she had to go to rehab. She finally graduated at age 25, but suffered a relapse the following year, so I had to send her back to treatment for a few more months. Truly, calling her a pain in the butt wouldn't be impolite. She has continuously caused me distress, embarrassment, and misery. I'm so incredibly grateful for Mercy, my understanding wife. Any other woman might have talked me out of leaving Ava, but instead, she was the one who continually urged me to wait and keep trying. Mercy has given so much of herself for Ava and me, and I'm eternally grateful for it. It seems Ava's biggest grievance is the fact that I got married again, and Mercy even more so. You see, Mercy isn't Native American. Her family was born in the Middle East. Her parents, immigrants in the United States, were unable to support their 5 children, so she grew up in an NGO, having arrived in the U.S. with nothing after fleeing a war-torn area. I was drawn to Mercy for precisely that reason. Despite a difficult upbringing and little money, she persevered, obtained a master's degree, found a lucrative teaching position, and established a successful life for herself. Yet, despite being a self-made woman, Ava refers to her as a gold digger. Yes, my family has some generational wealth, thanks to a successful export company spanning 2 generations. Since this is my second marriage and her first, Ava believes Mercy married me purely for financial gain. Ava argues that if it weren't for money, Mercy wouldn't have married a single father who was 12 years her senior. Mercy is 45 and I'm 57. I don't know who put these thoughts in Ava's head, but that's why she called Mercy a gold digger. A few of you also inquired as to whether Ava's mother had anything to do with this. In actuality, she hasn't gotten in touch with either Ava or myself since our divorce. All I know is that she was in Germany when I last heard from her. Regarding the present circumstance, Ava attempted to vent her rage by contacting me after I called off her wedding, but I prohibited her from doing so on any platform. When I initially called off the wedding, my own parents were upset and even offered to cover the costs if Ava wanted to reschedule. However, Ava betrayed them, using harsh language and accusing them of supporting me. She even threw them out of her house and told them not to come again. She blames them for her high school substance use being discovered, even though her teacher, who happened to attend the same gym as me, was the one who found out. Following this, my parents had a change of heart and accepted my decision to call off the wedding. I simply cannot give Ava the right to take advantage of and harm us whenever she pleases. I still haven't heard from her, so I have no idea what she's up to. 10 days after her alleged wedding day, my parents paid her a visit. 2 days ago, they confirmed she and her fiancé are still not married. They're probably arranging a new date or simply haven't followed through. Oh, and I blocked the credit card I was using to make the purchase. She still had access to it, but hadn't used it much since landing her job. She will probably be upset by this, but honestly, I don't care anymore. I don't feel guilty now that I know how she treated my parents. They have always cherished and protected her, and they are in their late 70s. It was right to finally cut Ava off. Hello everyone. Although it has been more than a year since I last updated this topic, I've remained in close contact with many of you who messaged me or left comments. A few weeks later, I learned that Ava had married her fiancé in a secret ceremony, attended only by their closest friends. I wished her luck in life and was pleased for her, even from a distance. I had no social media connection to her, so I had no idea what was going on in her life. My niece informed me that Ava had changed her Facebook status to reflect her and her husband's move to a nearby city. Everything in my life was going according to plan until I received a call from an unknown number a week ago. It was Matt, Ava's husband. My stomach clenched. I was anxious, fearing she might have suffered some sort of mishap. He wanted to meet me in person, which surprised me, but he quickly reassured me that she was okay. He claimed he would explain everything when we met. When I asked why he proposed getting together for supper, and said he was in town. In my heart, I hoped this would be an opportunity to make amends with Ava. I believed that Matt was serving as a go-between, and that she might be too embarrassed to approach me herself. I went to see him with great expectations, but to my disappointment, Matt arrived by himself. My heart sank as I inquired about her whereabouts. He said he had no idea where Ava was. Then he disclosed the truth. They were no longer together. According to Matt, Ava had a history of emotional abuse during their marriage and suffered from a serious problem with anger management. Even over small disagreements, She would hurl objects and smash household items. He put up with it for as long as he could, but eventually, it got to be too much, and they split up. Matt continued, explaining that Ava had deep-seated psychological problems and attributed any problems she encountered to other people. They had moved to a new city for his work, and she and he had many arguments. Ava was angry at him for removing her from her hometown, even though she had secured a comparable, well-paying position there. That was just one of their numerous problems. Matt stated he wanted to apologize face-to-face. He acknowledged that he had seen Ava treat me, Mercy, and my parents cruelly, but he chose not to step in, as Ava had constantly manipulated him into siding against us all. He felt terrible for ignoring the warning signs and, ultimately, causing himself suffering. I informed him that Ava was to blame, not him. I even held myself partially responsible for not raising her well enough. I also expressed my sincere regret to him for what he had endured with Ava. Then Matt asked me for a favor. He claimed that Ava was pleading with him to take her back since she had been so upset by the breakup. But after experiencing her mistreatment, he had completely lost interest in her. He nevertheless sent her warm wishes and asked if I could help her during this trying period. Because of her uncontrollable rage, Ava had lost all of her true friends, and Matt felt I could help her by taking her to therapy. I informed him that although I truly hoped I could, Ava would never allow me to be close to her. He understood, and we both agreed we wanted to help Ava, if she would ever let us. I made the decision to go see Ava after that talk. Unfortunately, things didn't work out as planned. She immediately launched into an attack on Mercy and me, even though I had come by myself so Mercy wouldn't have to witness Ava's anger. In an attempt to soothe her, I apologized. Right or wrong didn't matter to me at the time. I just wanted to assist her. I advised her to see a therapist first, and that otherwise she could say anything she wanted about me. Ava brought up the past without listening to a single word. She screamed that she wanted to kill Mercy because she detested her so much. She then admitted that she was embarrassed by our marriage and embarrassed to introduce Mercy as her stepmother, which is precisely why she had barred us from attending her wedding. When I tried to talk sense into her, she threw me out of the house, accusing me of being the cause of all her issues. To be honest, I don't care anymore about who was right or wrong. I don't know how to help her, but all I want is for her to finally recover. I appreciate all of your moral support. When I created the last update, I was pretty upset, and this community has truly helped me relax. Mercy, ever the compassionate one, advised me to get in touch with Ava's closest school friend. We knew each other well because her family lived next door. I messaged her on social media, explaining the situation, as she now resides in South Africa. Since she was the only person Ava had never battled with, I requested her to get in touch with Ava in the hopes that she could finally get through to her. Her friend promised to assist, and happily she did. Ava committed to therapy, and I think it's going well because she actually came to see my parents a week ago and expressed regret for her past actions. She acknowledged that she was no longer able to contain her hatred because it had become so strong. She still holds me responsible for everything, though, and stated that she would never forgive me. I no longer harbor any animosity toward her, even though I'm not directly involved in her life. I simply hope she has a happy life. I sincerely hope that no father ever has to deal with their own child's intense hatred. It's a pain that cuts deeper than anything I could have imagined. What do you all think? Have any of you been through something similar with a family member? How did you handle it? I really want to know your thoughts in the comments below.